All right, you do your little intro, and I'll get the important.
Well, here's the thing.
Here.
Normally I do. Well, not normally. Every episode I do is sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee, and I'm surrounded by two people right now who are from Black Rifle Coffee. So, Jariko,
you're flanked by two people. You're not surrounded.
Okay, yes, that is correct, actually. But why don't you do the intro? This episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. And go, Jariko. What do people need to know?
That this episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee.
You need to sell it, all right?
Yeah, I'll sell it. Hey, it's brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee, the company that enables veterans like Logan and myself to live at our full potential and come and do fucking badass shit like this.
That's good. He recovered pretty well there.
As far as where it was and where it ended, there's a good distance between the two.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
I'm losing my eyesight by the minute. I'm going to put my goggles down.
There you go. Yep. There you go. What's your favorite part of the coffee experience? Like, what's your...
what do you mean?
I think the ECS is the best thing that we have.
I would have to agree with that hands down. Do you mean the coffee experience as far as drinking coffee or like the interface on like the...
Any.
It's the ECS for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like... I don't know if Lava Panther was my favorite flavor, but it was in fact my favorite bag.
So what we have to do is we have to come up with a ECS bag of coffee from this trip.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah. Poo to pole.
Poo to pole. I don't think that's...
Look at this. I'm fixing you. I'm making you the way I want you to be.
There's a lot of ins, a lot of
You're
outs,
good.
a lot of what have yous when it comes to podcasting in the Arctic.
Yeah, I think Torpedo Penguin, just off the top of my head, would be pretty good.
I was thinking more like polar fisting.
Ooh.
Also good.
I have one. So, in the Army, static line, if you burned in, died, we called you a dirt dart.
Fair.
What do you
Ice
think
dart?
about ice dart?
Yeah, we almost
bad.
had one the other day, but maybe we don't have to talk about that. Maybe
It's a little
we can.
morbid, but
I
Yeah.
think we can talk about that.
I think we should. But
Remember your emergency procedures, ladies and
we'll
gentlemen.
talk about that. So, dude. Dude. Such a shitty way to start a sentence, actually. Nobody should ever start a sentence with dudes.
What about bruh?
Bros.
Thank you, sir.
How utterly surreal is it that we are actually in Antarctica and we've been here the last 4 days?
yeah, I'm trying not to get bored because it is like you can't go anywhere because there's crevasses everywhere. Like death is just surrounding you. But it's so cool. It's so legit. I never thought I would be here. And all of a sudden you're in such a remote place that like what, less than 500,000 people have ever been here probably.
I was actually going to try to find somebody here who knew the answer to that.
It'd probably be too hard to track, but
I think that it is very strange. Something that's set in on me after we were here about 24 hours was you go to some places in the world, like
Chicago?
the jungle, for instance, maybe some neighborhoods in Chicago, and everything there wants to kill you.
Oh, definitely
There's-
Chicago.
There's nothing here that wants to kill you because nothing can live here. There's no life here other than us.
yeah, besides the crevasses. The coolest story, not the coolest, but one of the craziest stories I've heard so far being here was the guy who was out in one of the snow machines, the track snow machines, and goes out into a crevasse field, falls 300 feet into a crevasse, gets wedged in between the ice, lives, and then they somehow rope down to him and pull his ass out of there.
The crack specialists.
I wasn't a deep crack.
Yeah. There's a crack
Surveyor.
master here.
There is a crack master here.
Yeah.
He spent his life just dedicated to searching for and exploring every inch of available crack that he can.
Yeah.
His sense of humor was the best one in the in-brief, by the way. That
He
guy
was
absolutely
amazing.
fucking nailed it.
Well, that guy, he looks like he's a fishing guide in like South Dakota. He's wearing Wranglers, Carhartt vest, and a flannel and like a Carhartt ball cap. or like he works on an oil rig, right? And
Yeah.
he talks like it. And then he gives another speech the next day, and he's like, yeah, I have my PhD in microgeology, blah, blah, blah.
On Mars. That's the Mars guy.
The Mars guy. And you're like, wow, you don't look the part of what you actually do and your levels of intricate speciality in this world.
Clip your microphone right above your zipper.
That's the other thing I'd notice. It's hard not to. Just there's some really rad people out here.
I was just thinking that, like, the amount of people. One, I was talking about it at breakfast. Just getting here alone, the cost to get here is going to separate a lot of the wheat from the chaff.
Yep.
But the eclectic group of people that are that is coming through here, whether it be people of an incredible high net worth or explorers, and probably everything in between, is insane. Like right now, Alex Honnold is off at Mount Vinson doing what he does, so climbing things that probably nobody should climb and nobody will ever climb again, just sessioning.
Yeah, he's doing a first ascent on Mount Vincent.
Yeah,
right.
why wouldn't he? He's Alex Honnold.
Yeah.
Before I forget, just so this episode can be standalone, I haven't done an episode with you yet, so we got to grab them while we're out here, but you have to intro yourself a little bit so people know who you are.
Yeah, Logan Stark, Marine, side of things. Started with Evan at Black Rifle pretty much 4 months after he started it.
How did you guys meet?
We met in Whitefish, your neck of the woods
Really?
these days. Yeah. So I was working for Funker 530. Do you guys remember?
I do.
Remember Funker?
Yeah, they played all the combat videos that got guys in trouble.
Yeah. One of those.
Well, you have to have an outlet for that so guys can, of course, get into trouble.
Yeah. So I was doing some stuff with those guys, and then we were discussing doing a documentary about Benghazi. And then so we met up in Whitefish. Chris Peranto was doing his book signing there, and so we all met up. All met up there, and that's where I met Evan, Matt, Marty.
Were you into coffee at the time?
I've always been into coffee. My former step family is Swedish, and so I was introduced to coffee as like a dessert drink. I started drinking it at like 12, 13 after like family dinners.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, been with BRC ever since.
So I like that you just took your beanie off, because the one thing that has shocked me about being here, of all the things that I was utterly concerned with about being here, freezing to death was probably the number one. And I think I did a video where I kind of laid out all of my gear. I put a good amount on for the jump, and I think I actually might trim a layer. But I have on just these bottoms with boxers underneath, a t-shirt, and this very thin layer on. And sitting in the sun right now, it's warm.
Yeah, I think it's it also helps for getting shots, like pictures and stuff. The light is everywhere. Like,
yeah.
The sun is hitting the snow and the ice that's bouncing off. So you get like 6 different layers or 6 different angles of light at all times, sunlight. So yeah, you stay pretty toasty as long as you're not in the shade.
How fucking epic was that first jump?
I don't know that visually we'll be able to do better than that ever anywhere in the world.
It's what I thought it was going to be. This was the jump location that I was looking forward to the most, because honestly, with a credit card, we can get anywhere to the other ones that we would want to go and like spend as much time there as possible. I bet you there's less than 100 people that have jumped in Antarctica.
I bet there's less than 50.
That could be true.
Yeah.
It was funny because we ended up getting out a little bit later than we should have. Not a ton, you know. It was fine, but it was a little bit later than. So I had a decent way to get back because we were the last out the door, and I remember because there's a Chilean military camp, half mile down,
Probably closer to a mile would be my guess.
to our south.
Yeah,
and,
we were past it.
Yeah, we were way past
When
it.
we-
Why'd you guys do that?
Just for the challenge.
Yeah.
And Logan likes a bigger challenge than me, so he pitched about 1,500 feet lower.
Yep. It was 1,000. I pulled it. I thought you pulled early in the air. I didn't. You pulled right at 5K, and then the plan was I wave at 4.5 and then pull at 4. It was totally fine. I got back with plenty of time.
When I had a good canopy and I looked around and I saw Logan and where he was and where I was, it's like, he ain't making it back. He's going in a crevasse.
Yeah. But so I was skirting this ridge that's right behind us here. I was skirting that whole way back, and if you look at, there's some infographics in the bathroom over there, and there's a lane that's nothing but crevasse. And I was like, man, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, the added danger to all this. It's not just like, oh, you got to walk half a mile to get back to your packing area. It's like, no. Basically, pretty big deal. Search and rescue, not too much searching, but basically they said, if you don't land in the landing area, do not move.
Like not even an inch.
Not an inch. And we're going to have to rope people together and come out and get you. So don't be an asshole and not land in the LZ, or at least land on the road. So there was, the pucker factor was quite a bit more here.
You guys were farther up towards the front of the aircraft. What was the temperature like on climb out?
It was fine.
I was way over layered.
Yeah.
I'm layering down quite a bit. I was uncomfortable hot when I got to the ground because I went overboard a little bit.
It was a little chillier back towards the door, so I was back there with Nick and Jim.
Yeah.
But again, looking at this trip, when I did a high wing chute jump in 2015, it was fucking cold. It was like -50 on exit. But I also should have thought more about it. I was wearing shorts and a T-shirt underneath because I'm an idiot. And it was also summertime in Davis. So there was like this crazy temperature swing. I could almost gauge the altitude that I was descending through based off of the temperature increase. It was a little bit wild. So I was exited freezing and I got down sweating my ass off. But I was taking my gloves off at the door to double check Nick's tandem system and to stow his straps from, and threw my hands right back in those gloves. Zero issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I actually had to take my hands out of my gloves and just kind of wave them to dry them off because I was sweating. So I also made a game time decision next to the aircraft. I had more gloves than that. I had a set of like fleece wind stoppers, and then I just had a straight wind stopper. And I was just feeling them, and I was like, man, I got dexterity, but like, do I? So I was like, I'd rather be cold than dead. So I'm going to just take this inner layer off. And I handed them over to the mechanic of the plane. He was like, can you hold these for me? And so glad I did that, because nothing on me except for the portion of my face where my balaclava got pulled down was cold.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, how was the free fall experience? Because I was in a different group. You guys were with boots, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some unintentional head down, which was pretty rad.
Yeah, we ended up completely upside down, and I remember thinking how cool it was that we were head down for half a second. I was like, I don't even care that we fucked up that exit.
The video is spectacular.
Because how cool this is right now, and some of the stills.
Yeah.
Like you can see Jariko's feet in the plane, and then Boots is like looking directly into his camera, and you're not going to get any other views like that ever. But it just feels like it went by so fast.
We did get out a little bit lower than normal.
Yeah.
We got out at, I believe, 14.5 MSL, which put us, I think my altimeter was hovering in like the high 10s. It was just below 11, but above 10.5.
Yeah, basically when we were coming out of our little situation on exit there, we were at like 10.
Yeah.
I looked at the video clip there. But it was everything that you'd hoped it would be, because I remember we got into a round and I was facing this mountain range, and past what you can see in the video right now, it just continues.
Yeah.
Pretty much as far as you can see, this just mountain range keeps going. And it's almost like distracting, I had to like, okay, check. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so awesome. Okay, check. Oh, so sweet. Okay, check.
I had two thoughts during the free fall. One, once we
don't damage your eyes.
Once we got belly down and flying, Boots actually grabbed my altimeter when we were in our round. So I was like, man, I fucking hope these guys are paying attention, because I can't.
Oh, hand directly over
over my
display,
over the display. So I'm like, I hope they're paying attention, because I can't. And then I was thinking, I'm not cold. Like, it was and also first time not jumping a full face helmet, like just having goggles. And I was like, oh, I don't even notice that. And then after those kind of like practical things went through my mind, I looked down and looked up and was like, holy fucking shit, this is amazing. Just how fucking beautiful it is in every direction. There's, you jump in Arizona or even skydive San Diego, which up to this point has kind of been the most beautiful place I've jumped, because you have the mountains, on Jump Run, you have the mountains to your
the
right.
reservoir.
Yeah, and then the ocean, and then San Diego proper. But you look around and you still see some like eyesores, some bullshit that's not pretty. Where here you can't look anywhere without it being fucking breathtaking.
And doesn't it seem like you almost have like a more vivid picture out here? Doesn't it seem like a little bit sharper?
Do you think that's because of the clarity of the air?
I have to assume that it's something like that.
Yeah.
Science stuff. There's a better scientific explanation to it. But because there's nothing out here, it just feels like it's got this like clarity to it that I've never seen anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I bombed out. So I watched the tandem go. I did not get to see Jim's helmet fly off, which is amazing. I saw him in the chow hall later that day. Actually, I'm not in the. I was just about to say I'm not going to use military terms, and I almost said mess tent. In the kitchen tent / eating area, he's like, "Oh, I'm just pissed that I fucked up." I was like, "What happened? Like, did you hurt yourself?" He's like, "No, my helmet came off." I'm like, "Yeah, man, that kind of happens." Like, he was so incredibly hard on himself. He's like, I failed Nick. Like, I just totally fucked up. I'm like, it's the first time you've ever jumped that helmet. Like, it's okay, man. And of course they found it.
Yeah. Nick was just, I asked Nick about it, and he was just so worried that it was going to come down into camp.
Yeah.
And schmuck somebody.
Yeah.
Which would have sucked.
It would have sucked, but I think everybody at camp was actually out paying attention to what we were doing. So I think
Yeah.
they would have been okay.
Yeah.
But he went, and then Mike got in the door, Freddie, and then Glenn, and I went out after them. And it's hard to, I bombed out, and because I'm like, okay, I have to get some aerial shots so we can actually use this for something and tell the story of what we're doing. But I'm trying to like make sure the camera's pointed in the right direction, but through my ski goggles look the other way because it's so ridiculously gorgeous.
Yeah.
Iceland was beautiful, but it was in a different way. That was more like mountainous. You've been there. It's mountainous, like volcanic. There's some ice at the top. I've never jumped over anything like this. It literally just looks like an ocean of snow and ice.
Yeah. Someone called it a crystal desert.
Oh, that's interesting.
I like
that was a pretty good description of what you see out here. Because, if you're watching this and you look, even when you're just looking and you don't take a closer look, you think this is all snow. But it's actually just glacier ice for the most part, what you're seeing. And it's a totally different thing. Like, you can't, like right now, I couldn't make a snowball here.
No.
Like, it's not.
Even out of the stuff behind us, too, you wouldn't be able to make a snowball out of that.
Right, it's not snow, it's ice. And it the way it crystallizes and it's like unlike anything most people have ever seen before.
It met every expectation that I had leading up to this.
And your jump was like, you had that view where you had two people both, it looked like they pitched at the exact same time in the video.
It wasn't planned for them to pitch at exactly the same time, but not all plans go as briefed. So it was probably a touch closer than they were originally planning. And then I just backflipped over. I watched them go up and backflipped over. And then I was just, what would that be, south of camp. Had one of the softer openings that I've ever had. And I'm not an expert at how the temperature or the density altitude impacts the canopies, but I'm really curious to see what our next jump is like if it repeats that. Because I've had some whippers with that canopy, and that one, it was just very buttery and very soft. And then I was flying right. It was such a cool shot of over the top of the camp with that perspective of, it looks like small because we're obviously walking around, but yeah, from above it was pretty sweet. Yeah. And then, we should talk about the camp. First off, how ridiculously interesting is the majority shareholder owner, Mike, of this camp, which all three of us need to sit down with him today when he comes back and absolutely pick his brain. He's the single most interesting man alive.
Definitely the most interesting man I've ever met, which is kind of saying a lot.
Yeah, it's, and we never say that, but it makes sense. After we talked with him the other night and I started thinking about it, what he gets his fingers into, because once you start doing these remote logistical excursions, you can take what you learn and apply it to other things. So not only is he running Antarctica stuff, but he's doing deep sea stuff. Like, he's getting into space stuff. And I was like, man, that kind of like flips the script on what you thought people were going to be like here. And more and more people you talk to, like all these interesting individuals that are out here are like, oh, I'm developing AI for implementation onto Titan for 2037 expedition. And I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Who the fuck stood in front of their third grade class and said that they wanted to do that?
Yeah, there was a woman here. I wish I could have grabbed her for like an hour, but I'm pretty sure she works for NASA.
Yeah.
And there were people, the expedition that left what do they call it? The last 1 degree?
Mm-hmm. The last degree.
Yep.
Yeah, they're getting biometrics. There's some people who are doing it just for the exploration. But there's 60 people right now, they said, on Mount Vinson. And so the company ALE stands for Antarctic Logistics and Expeditions, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so that's Mike's company. He's, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say it's Mike's company because he's the only person that I know.
He has
out of the
3 partners.
3. One of them is his brother, so it's basically Mike's at this point, as far as I'm concerned. He's kind of managing all that, but 60 people on that mountain, so I guess there's remote camps. They just flew off somewhere else this morning with the people we met last night to do was it IQ3, something like there was another camp that they were going to. Like, you would think that, we're sitting inside of an ice donut right now, which it seems like they used for the New Year's Eve celebration here. Because when we got in, over my left shoulder, the viewer's right shoulder, it said 2023 when we first got here. Because we got here Jan 3, which it doesn't actually feel like we've been here for 3.5 days, and we have.
It feels like it's been a lot longer.
Yeah, we have 2.5 left, but this camp is large, but it's just one of many things that
Yeah.
it's surprising how much is out here, and then to hear that there are other operations like this spread throughout the continent as well.
Yeah, I mean, this morning as we were trying to, going through and figuring out the things that we want to capture in video for content, one of the things that's really cool here is the air fleet that they have. And I was talking to one of the guest service people, like, hey, could we get a tour of this DC-3 that actually participated in D-Day? And she's like, well, we'll have to check the tail numbers and see which one's here because we have 16 DC-3s on ice right now.
That's
So
ridiculous.
This whole thing, there's 16, they have their own, basically their own Air Force that this guy, Mike, runs.
And it's not year-round. So we jumped out of a Twin Otter, of which there are 2. Then there are 2 DC-3s. What's the other word they use for them?
It's a B word.
Basler?
Basler.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not aware, actually.
Yeah, do you know why? I never
I have
got
no
that.
idea. I didn't
Okay.
know that a DC-3 had that name.
I didn't either.
I would assume
it
it has
was-
something to do with the origin of manufacturer or the person who created the design for it.
The military version is the Skytrain, is the
Yeah.
nomenclature for a DC-3.
But so there's 2 DC-3s, there's 2 Otters, and I was talking to Mike about the Otters. He's like, yeah, after they're done. So before I talk about where the planes go, they come here in October, set everything up, and we were one of the last groups to come through here. They pull everything off continent, except I guess there's a large clamshell. They save some stuff, but the vast majority of it is pulled off continent via air, which we landed on this insane blue ice runway that is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides. It actually reminded me very much of runway situations in Afghanistan.
It did, yeah.
I hope you got all the engines, and I hope you can make a left or a right-hand turn. But those Otters, they're chartered or leased, but they came from the fucking North Pole.
Yeah.
So when they're done here, they are going to strip them down, load them up with gas, fly them to the tip of the peninsula in Antarctica, across probably to Punta Arenas or somewhere in South America, and they fly all the way back up and continue service in the Northern Arctic.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was talking to the 2 guys that crew those, the crew chiefs, not the pilots, and it's like, so what do you guys do in the off-season? They're like, oh, we go to the North Pole and work up there. I'm like, so you're just always in the Arctic, your entire life? And they're like, yeah. It takes, there are people in the world that are very drawn to the ocean, the sea.
Yeah.
There are people that are drawn to mountains. And I think there is a very small subculture that is attracted to the Arctic, to the wild of this place, somewhere that if you got stuck 500 meters that way for 6 hours, you would die. And I think there's people who are very drawn to that, the wildness of these environments.
Are you guys surprised at the level of accommodations that we have and all the things that are here for us?
Without a doubt. I was like, I said it to Mike. I was like, I did not expect this place to be so nice. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Like,
Over-prepared.
Yeah.
Is the,
Which I would rather be that than underprepared.
Yeah.
But even if we had gotten to Punta Arenas, I guess I just didn't. I have no experience as we start getting south of the equator. The farther we go, the less experience I had. I didn't know what was going to be available. So for my travel, it went Kalispell, a few local or CONUS U.S. connections to Santiago to Punta Arenas, and I didn't know what to expect. There's full high-end gear stores, which I bet you have a very tight relationship with ALE. But yeah, then we get here. The tents that we're in are awesome.
amazing.
Required zero setup from us, thankfully, because I would have totally fucked that up.
And the tents,
55, 60 degrees.
yeah, you can comfortably sit in there in a long sleeve T-shirt and a pair of shorts.
It's too hot. It's too hot. Sleeping bag's too hot.
Well, then they gave us a negative 40-degree sleeping bag, which I think we all had a bespoke sleeping experience the first night.
Which, I'm like, oh, this thing's rated to negative 40. I'll go ahead and zip it all the way up in this tent that's 60 degrees inside.
Did you say you woke up basically in a sauna/hot tub?
In a literal puddle of sweat. I felt like I just did Fran. Sat up and had sweat beating off my chest. And when I sat up and the sleeping bag all kind of concaved and all the sweat collected at the bottom was about an inch deep puddle, an inch by about 4-inch puddle of sweat. It's pretty awesome. So I had to get out of the bag, get my towel, and dry off like I'd just gotten out of the pool.
I started with, I think, 2 or 3 layers in the bag the first night. And I would nod off a little bit and wake up oh God.
Yeah.
And take one top layer off. And then 20 minutes later, bottom layer. It was eventually a pair of boxers and a T-shirt with the thing about 3/4 unzipped is my sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm just in the thin bag now. I got rid of the big
The most
bag.
painful thing I've experienced so far here was the first morning when I forgot so the sun is not going to go down where we are until March. So it just orbits around. So we brought with us eye pillows. And the most painful thing I've done to date on this trip is rip that eye pillow off, forgetting that it was going to be completely bright outside.
Yeah.
And I thought I was blind for about 30 seconds.
That is something that you having never been here, you really forget. And I think I told both you guys yesterday, it's a little off-putting. We went out on an excursion yesterday, did a hike, and I kept thinking in my head, I'm like, we got to get back. It's going to be dark soon. It's just it's bred in you, and it's it's not going to get dark, fucking ever.
Yeah, it changes your internals quite a bit.
It actually jacks mine up pretty badly.
Yeah, and the only other place that I experienced that was Iceland. I went there in the summer as well, a few years ago, and
it just dips, but it never gets totally dark.
Yeah, and you can tell the effect that it has on the people, because I was on my way to Europe. I was doing a trip where we basically we followed the path of the Allies in World War II from Normandy Beach all the way down to Hitler's Eagle's Nest. Super cool trip, but stopped at Iceland on the way out there. And I remember I had a super early flight out of Iceland to get to Amsterdam, and I wake up at 5 in the morning, and I'm kind of groggy, and I just hear this I'm like, what is going on? And I go to the window, and I look down in the alley, and through the alley I can see the bar just raging. 5 in the morning, 300 people out on Main Street just raging, and then there was a couple in the alleyway just going to town in the alley. I was like, oh, okay, Iceland, let's go.
Well, I think it's darker than a coal miner's asshole for 6 months.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to make bread when the sun's shining, or however that metaphor goes.
Yeah, I was in Estonia one summer, in Tallinn, which I think is about the same latitude or longitude or whatever as Iceland. And I couldn't get to sleep because it wouldn't get dark. And I had that feeling where you're just hopeless and you just want to cry. And in a little bit of life experience later, I was like, I should have just gotten a sleep mask, but I was too stupid back then to solve that problem. But yeah, it shows you, unless you grew up in that environment, it's going to fuck you up. It's going to make you feel weird. And I
really hooked myself up the first night at about 8 p.m., had a carafe of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a nice little nightcap.
Jariko's sitting there, he goes, what are you doing? It's 8:30. I'm like, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. He goes, Okay.
Good luck getting to bed, bud.
Yeah, I saw him the next morning. I'm like, God, I slept like shit. He goes, really? That's so weird. I can't imagine what would have caused that.
Well, it catches up to you, and I being overseas and working that reverse cycle,
Yeah.
I kind of like doing that. You can kind of recognize, like, I'm not sleeping tonight, and you have to just kind of rally through and just build up that sleep drive again. But 2 nights ago, me and Boots, one of the guys on the trip with us, we were up till like 3 a.m. just drinking beers and in the mess tent, like solving the problems of the world. And at no point was like, oh shit, I got to get to bed. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just be fucked tomorrow, and it'll help me sleep the next night. And it did.
Sometimes you got to power through. Yeah. So what else? We got the tents. I mean, the food. Holy shit.
The food is better than what we were eating in Punta Arenas, I think.
Well, I haven't had a tomahawk ribeye here yet, and I did have that in Punta Arenas.
A couple of the other places that weren't too favorable for me.
Yeah, there was a couple that I like. I actually at Jariko, I believe you ate intestines of a bunny, which is disgusting.
Yeah, rabbit and
You had rabbit guts?
He did.
yeah. I enjoy trying the stuff that the royalty would not have eaten in the Middle Ages.
Getting your Anthony Bourdain on a little bit?
Yeah, it was pretty gamey, but
Like,
whatever.
how far will you go with your food exploration?
All the way. I don't think there's anything I wouldn't eat. Actually,
Like, what if they punched out like a cow's asshole and fried it up like calamari? Would you eat that?
oh fuck yeah,
I
that's
accidentally-
just menudo, man. That's just fried
Jesus.
menudo.
I accidentally had chicken feet in Tokyo.
Oh fuck yeah.
Oh, it was
I've had chicken
horrible.
feet. Here's
Oh,
okay.
oh.
I think I asked you guys this question. I asked you, and this is on subject. If you were to travel to some very exotic location that we don't even know about yet, and cannibalism was not frowned upon there, and there was some very ethical way that they sourced the human meat, would you go to a restaurant and try the human?
I think I would,
I would too. Fuck yeah.
but not like a lot.
See,
What
yeah,
those
I don't really
tasty-
have a desire. And then also your whole,
Take a double shank steak.
you don't want to eat peck meat. You'd be okay like having some hammies.
I didn't say I
What if
wouldn't.
peck meat is the delicacy? What if they
Yeah.
hammer it out and like
Well-
saute it in butter?
Yeah, a little
what-
Milanesa action.
Yeah, it seems like the peck would be like very like it'd be kind of like fillet because it's like
You think so?
dense muscle,
I think abs would probably be the least tasty cut. 'Cause they
If
get
you
used the
had to
most.
eat a human, but you could only choose one sauce to go with it, what would you go with?
A1.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Or
Hollandaise.
ketchup. A hollandaise?
Oh, no, gross. No.
You could put hollandaise in a dog turd and it's going to taste good.
I'm not so sure that you've ever tested that. I don't think that's the case.
Just cat turds.
What would you guys come back? Would you do like would you go to the South Pole or do Vincent? Like, do you think this is the last time you'll be here?
Those types of activities don't really put wind in my sail. I would like to go to the pole, but I would prefer to just fly there and see the pole. But given the logistical and financial limitations to coming here, I think I'm good on Antarctica. I mean, not to say this isn't fucking awesome,
Yeah.
but skydiving it, I think, is.
I think
more
it puts
than
it at the once in a lifetime. I would come back if my wife wanted to, but I would come back for her, not because I felt like it was something I wanted to do again. I don't know how we could top what we've already done, and we actually haven't even started the expedition yet.
Yeah, I was talking to Jim. There's an older gentleman doing the
Third
tanning.
trip here, I think.
Third time.
That's his
here.
voice in the background. If you're picking that up,
They won't be able to on the little mics.
One of the other trips he did here, he did the coastal. It's not a cruise. You're on like a old sailboat, but it's on the coast, and you can. He said he kayaked every day, penguins, the whole nine. You can do like. Try your hand. You can get in the water if you want to, and see what that's like. I think that would be pretty cool. I'd be down to do some of that action.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I put this one as a once in a lifetime for sure.
yeah.
You guys, I was thinking about this. The two of you, been jumping about 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to fall into that category for you guys where it sets your bar in a weird place.
Yeah.
Because I've been jumping for 24 years at this point, and it was the coolest jump I've done. And you guys are just like, well, I'll start there and then I guess slide down the pyramid, which
Yeah.
again is going to be another one that you're going to do like fucking 3 jumps from now. So at the end of the week, I mean, I guess maybe you guys could like pick up like horse polo or something because you look.
There is like my number one bucket jump is skydive Vos in is that Norway? Vos, I don't know how you pronounce it. I mean, I know this is amazing, but just the videos I've seen from there, I think could maybe top this.
It could.
Visually.
You've removed everything but that one.
Yeah.
And that one is going to, again, that's a credit card and a week off. You know, this is, I mean, I guess, well, you could pay for all this with a credit card, but you better have a fucking hefty spending limit.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, to kind of like peel it back and go to the reason that we're doing this, is like, I hate to use the word lucky. Like, I'm not lucky. Everything I've done has been something I've worked for, but fucking A, we're lucky. And I just hope that us all doing this shows people, like, always volunteer, always say yes, work hard, and, you know, you can end up doing some shit that you never, ever, ever thought you could. And, you know, through the company, through Black Rifle Coffee, like us being able to be here, because of the hard work of Evan and Matt and Logan and all that, it's like, I sound like I'm fucking being an apple polisher ass kisser, but you get here and you do this and you're like just so incredibly thankful for the opportunities that have been brought. But going back to saying, I'm not lucky because the things that I did in my prior life gave me the reputation to be put into the company of guys like you and guys like you and be able to come and do these things that none of us could probably do alone. It's a unit effort, and that unit effort is a product of the things that we used to do.
Yeah. I mean, to parlay that, I think, you know, I appreciate when your merchandise kind of fits your lifestyle and, you know, your ethos and stuff, and you just came out with that Seek Discomfort shirt, which I appreciate, simply due to the fact that I think if you have that mentality and things in life, you never know what door that's going to be able to open you up to, and, you know, jumping is exactly that. Like, it's an uncomfortable thing. It is. I don't care how much of an quote unquote adrenaline seeker you are. It is putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, having to learn a new set of skills, and doing something that you can't practice. You can't go get simulation time being under canopy. And who would have thought that learning how to skydive would have opened up Antarctica? And that's like this true beauty of life, is like all the simple ethos was just seek discomfort, which led to going to Antarctica. Yeah. Like, that's the epitome of life for me, is like having these little doors open just by living a very simple ethos in life.
Yeah, to go back to what you're saying about luck, I mean, luck in my mind is a combination of opportunity and hard work.
Kairos.
But you have to have both.
Yeah.
You can work really hard and not really be presented with opportunities or say no to all of them. You're not going to get to where people are amazed. Or you could have a ton of opportunity and be just a turd on wheels and do nothing. And, you know what I mean? It's both, and it's built over time. Yeah. You know, the Must Be Nice crowd, which is their domain appears to be the internet and the comments section.
I love it when people, if someone says that to me or to my friends, I'm like, you're doing something right. You're doing something right. Someone saying Must Be Nice, you're doing something right.
It is.
Because they see the end state, or what they see is a particular station in a moving life, and they're comparing and contrasting it to where their life is. And I mean, there's some people who have some fucked up life circumstances and where they are, but none of that will ever be solved by looking at somebody else and going, well, that must be nice, Logan. Yeah. It will come through seeking discomfort. Everything of value in my life has come from that, from heading towards things that either scare me or are uncomfortable. And I can't think of anything that I actually have or feel value in possessing or doing that is easy.
Yeah.
I mean, success in, you know, where I spent the majority of my life was running to the sound of the guns.
Yeah.
Like, you hear a contact, you fucking attack it. And that's what makes you successful there. That's what keeps you and your buddies alive, is that like just bold aggression and doing something that is to someone that's untrained or not inoculated in that. It's a totally foreign concept. You know, but that is what, you know, that's why lions don't get fucked up, because they just attack shit, you know.
Well, they get fucked up when they're older.
Way to split hairs on me there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can't say lions don't get fucked up because they clearly do. I've seen National Geographic.
Lions can't read. Go.
They can't read English. Perhaps they have a different language that they use to communicate with each other. I don't know what meow means.
Maybe they scratch shit on trees and branches and.
So
that.
I'm trying to think. So we got our practice jump, and the reason there was a variety of reasons for that. I would say the biggest one is the shakeout of gear.
Yeah.
And I would say the vast majority of people, just listening to them, they are all in the same boat that you both have landed in. I'm actually probably going to take a layer off.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we had to, we're actually on the board, which I think was a good thing. Get here and get one on the board, which was awesome. But we have the potential for 2 more, and then the expedition will actually start. And obviously it makes sense mathematically. I think the timer starts, I'll likely be the first person on the ground just because my canopy is smaller. I think the timer starts, they said, when my feet hit the ground. For our portion, obviously the tandem record will be when the tandem hits the ground. So it would behoove us, regardless of when it starts as far as the stack hitting the ground, to go as close to when the 757, which by the way, what if fucking... Like, we're going to be on a rickety old ship coming out to Antarctica. I'm like, no, how about an Iceland Air 757 with stewardesses and snacks? I'm like, I accept this.
Yes.
Yeah,
this will be okay.
That was a nice surprise, but also kind of a sad surprise, right? I thought we were going to be on like the Aleutian, the crazy Russian plane or something like that.
Which that was dope to be able to
so
watch
cool.
come in.
Yeah.
But the 757 will be here weather holding on the 9th. And if we can jump the morning of the 9th, of course, it compresses our time window so the timer starts as close to us getting on the 757. Then we go to Punta Arenas to Santiago, straight to jump, back to the airport, to Miami, Barcelona, Egypt, Dubai, Perth. So we've got a jump under our belt. You guys have shaken it out. We've done some planes, trains, and automobiles already getting to this point. Where do you guys think that we're going to encounter hardship or problems along the way? Now that we're staged, we're technically on the board with the jump. We could start the record right now, which, by the way, the current record is 7 months. So if we finish this in 10 days, oh shucks, we still did it.
Yeah, my gut says that the Spain, Egypt, UAE, there's going to be a lot of customs in there in a very short window of time. I think if there's any hiccups, it's going to be in that window.
You think it'll be a baggage hiccup?
It could be.
A missed flight hiccup?
It could be something just one of us gets held at customs for something really stupid.
Osama bin Jariko?
Yeah, I could see that. Or just like, doesn't say the right thing, going to get their passport stamped, or, someone's just having a bad day and it just holds all of us back. I could see that. But if we get through... I think they already did a pre-scout in Santiago. That should go smooth.
Yep.
Miami shouldn't be any issues, but that 3-1 there.
I think listening to Mike talk, Cirilli, he was saying we have a very limited amount of time in Barcelona. That's the one he was the most concerned about because we have an afternoon flight, not an evening flight. And I think we get in at like 10. And it's an hour away to the DZ.
I think we have 7 hours to get there.
Yeah, and so we're going to a porter there, so it'll be 2 loads, which isn't crazy. I mean, those things can turn it, especially if they're jumping planes, they'll fucking end over and come down and be on the ground before
that's going to be a
canopies.
hop and pop, correct?
I don't know. I mean, that's one way we could shave time, but also we'd only
15 minutes.
Less than that, probably like 7.
Yeah.
So, part of this whole thing is being able to tell the story of what we're doing. I'd rather eat those 7 minutes and have things like the footage we got on this jump, so we can immerse people in the story. And again, the whole story and the whole point of this is to try to, the legacy expeditions, to continue the legacy going forward, and raise money. Yeah.
I'm curious, Andy, your thoughts on just as far as like, we're the new guys when it comes to skydiving and air sports like that. Like, are you of the mindset that like skydiving is something that, more people should be pursuing in their lives, or do you think that's something that like should be very limited, or do you like pitch it to anybody? What are your kind of ethos on that?
My theory has always been I want people to go and find things that they're passionate about, and like there are people who literally eat sleep, breathe, and live to play chess. To me, never been a thing. I always loved jumping, but I understand people's, misconceptions of it. We're in a room with people who are basically walking, to the South Pole or doing these expeditions over very dangerous territory. I didn't realize I'm utterly fucking terrified of crevasses now after that goddamn brief.
Yeah.
And they're looking at us like, oh, you guys are fucking crazy. I'm like, I'm just testing gravity. That shit works every time. I got 2 parachutes. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of the plane right over the top, get back in here and go have a coffee at fucking
There's
9
no
p.m.
crevasse parachute.
Yeah, not be able to sleep. So there's a lot of misconceptions about it. What I can say is I've probably taken well over 1,000 people for their first tandem at this point, and I've never had somebody who didn't love it. But I've just gotten to a point in my life where I don't try to push anything on anybody. If they ask me, I'll tell them what I think about it, what it has done for me, what I enjoy about it. And if they want to go, I'll absolutely facilitate that, but I don't push it. I don't think it's for everybody. I think there is a bell curve to human beings. And I've encountered some absolute fucking dum-dums in my life, and I don't think that they should skydive because you need to have some level of objective thought processing and the ability to remember an actual structured approach to how to handle problems. And we literally witnessed what happens when you don't do that. And I can leave it broadly at that. Let's just say that I would say in the 20-some years that I've been jumping, we got extremely close to watching a fatality. And the only thing that kept that person out of the fatality was pure luck.
Yeah.
And the scariest part about that is that person had no idea how close they were.
Yep.
So it's not for everybody, for sure. But I think it's for most people. But it's also super expensive, right? You have to live near a drop zone. And my biggest thing, when people tell me that they want to get started in it, I say that's awesome. I'll help them as much as I can, but you got to promise me you're going to stay current. Because large gaps, and then you try to pick up where you were, that's how people get bit, oftentimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want people to find something that they love and go do that. And it's amazing to me, like asking people, like, hey, what are you passionate about? And they don't have an answer.
Yeah, they can't answer. It's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That should be your number one priority, I think, in life.
I mean, you got to balance it, right? You have to have like shelter and food and all that shit.
Yeah.
But if you,
But I mean, in today's modern era,
Yeah.
that's not really something you got to be too concerned.
No, I mean from an economic perspective, right? So I'm not saying people are like, oh, should I pursue my passion or get a job? And the answer is probably both. To a degree, like you need to make sure that your basic necessities are met, and then. But I can't imagine living a 9-to-5. Nothing against living a 9-to-5 job. I know it wouldn't be great for me, but not having something that I like. I know that I have found the right thing. Like when I have trouble sleeping the night before, and when the alarm goes off, I'm like springboarding out of bed. I'm like, fuck yes, I get to do this.
Yeah.
I wish everybody had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess for anybody that's listening, they're like, oh, I don't know what that is. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to hit you over the head. Like, skydiving is not my passion, right? My passion is being able to tell stories. And
well, you should talk about your journey into skydiving, because I didn't realize you fucking hated it.
Oh, I fucking despised it. But
so why did you sign up for the trip? Because you learned when you guys went out to Arizona through Black Rifle, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things that Jariko got
it's one of the things
with at Black Rifle.
pulled me in. The reason that I did it was because I was in the Army for 20 years. I did static line the entirety of that time, and I remember my brother was a SF ODA guy, and he was on a Halo team. And I was like, "Fuck that, man! I fucking hate jumping." He's like, "It's so different. It's so different." And I had so many people who I respected their opinion that told me I should do it. I pushed through. That. Should we wait on that?
No, I love it. It's part of the ambiance.
We pushed through, or I pushed through that discomfort, but once I was doing it, then I really fucking hated it, right? Because it was fucking scary.
What was your headspace right before your first jump? You're in the aircraft getting into the door.
You know what I was scared of? Falling out. Even though I was about to jump out, I was so fucking scared that I was going to fall out. And then a few more jumps, then I was scared I was going to go onto my back. And I remember I was doing a debrief with Friday. You know Friday?
Yeah.
He was my coach, and he was doing my video debrief, and I went onto my back. And I was like, oh, I went on my back. Oh, that's cool. I was so fucking scared. And he was like, you're an idiot. Why were you fucking scared of going onto your back? And I was like, I don't know. It just
scary shit. Well, I mean, Sorelli, It shows us on almost every jump that nothing bad is going to happen, assuming you have time to get oriented the correct position to deploy your parachute.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that kind of kept me with it was I had this nagging feeling in the back of my in you know, that spidey sense that this activity is going to lead me places that are going to enable me to tell fucking awesome stories. And fucking A, look at where we are.
Yeah.
You know?
You should see the video of his first jump. Is one of the more humorous things I've seen in the last decade.
I tried to get back in the plane.
As he's
No, you
going
didn't.
out, as he's poising out the back of the Skyvan, he does this like he claws at the side of an aircraft.
At the air to try to like pull my way back in.
How'd that work for your initial flight?
Oh yeah, that worked really well. I think I had about 2,000 feet of plywood falling to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a normal thing to do.
No, it's not.
I tell people, if you're not concerned the first time you jump out of an airplane, you're either not paying attention at all to what you're doing, or you might be on the sociopathic scale.
Yeah, it was.
I've said it's killing yourself and then changing your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard it put that way.
It's really good. I remember I wanted to be like, oh, no big deal or whatever, but mentally, right before my first jump, like your tasks on the first jump they're nothing. Like you poise, you get out, you stable, and then you literally just like horizon, altimeter, stable. And that's all you do. You just fucking hold a position for the first 60 seconds. That's all you do. And I remember going through my checklist in my head as we're going up and we're getting to altitude. And I think as just part of the survival process, I just brain dumped. Like the very simple steps of doing that, my brain just went blank. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Which is just like this weird survival tactic that your brain gets, which it came back to me immediately after getting out of the aircraft. But it was the first time that I got serious vampire effect going through AFF.
What is a vampire effect?
That's what we call, like, so I'm sure you had it too going through your selection courses, but basically we call it at Black Rifle. It's a term we came up with for like when people start quitting and dropping out.
Oh, yes.
And you're like, oh, the weakness is leaving. I'm stronger.
So that's when people-
stronger from your weakness.
That's when people would ring the bell at Bud's.
Yeah.
And they started having to like punish the classes because of the reaction. They'd be like, yeah! And like this person's having the lowest fucking moment of their absolute life right there.
Yeah.
If they had
Their dreams just ended.
If they had a mechanism to end their life on the spot, I mean, the fucking suicide rate would be through the roof. And people are just like, fuck yeah! And so now I know exactly what you're talking about with the vampire effect.
Funny. Did you guys have a name for that? For like drawing strength? Because we had a name for it in regiment.
What was it?
The quickening.
Oh, no, we didn't have a name like that because that's awesome.
Yeah, like remember in Highlander when you would cut a dude's head off, you took all his power.
Yeah.
The
Highlander effect was another thing they called
we
it.
called it the quickening. Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, but then just seeing like Jared only made it to 5 jumps, Matt did 2, Eli did 17. I was like,
Matt got hurt, to be fair.
to be fair.
The landing that Matt has on video, I have watched 3 people spend the rest of their life in a wheelchair because of a landing like that.
Yeah,
He got very lucky.
yeah.
It seems like he's a durable person, and I was glad to see that because the way he landed is not the way you want to land. He basically landed tailbone first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God he was a giant 360 parachute if it wasn't that big of a shoot.
No, I've never seen an AFF school produce a 50% attrition rate. I really like what you guys did there.
Yeah.
It was an experience slash crucible.
Yeah. Honestly, I'll be honest. Like one morning, I don't remember how many jumps we had at the time, but I showed up and I was going through my checks. My instructor Friday sitting there with me, and I just like kind of took a deep breath and I was like, "Man, I'm not feeling this." And he's like, "Okay, man. Okay. Well, and if you know this guy, he's like just the nicest fucking guy on earth. He's not going to give you a pep talk. And he's also with me, who's like, I can intimidate some people. And he was like, well, sometimes you just have to get back on that horse." I was like, I never got off the horse. But all right.
I don't like the horse. That's the problem.
That's all it took. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I have this like super nice guy. And I just saw this like look of like, man, you really don't want to not do this. Like, this is great. You want to keep going. So I did. And yeah, that I will say that the attrition rate did help fuel fuel me finishing.
What do you think that noise is out there? It's
That's
obviously
the
a
track vehicle.
It is a
Yeah.
track vehicle, but why is it now deciding to go back and forth directly outside of our podcast
Yeah,
studio?
they know. I think Jim probably told them we're podcasting. So.
Jim might be driving that thing nude.
Was that a thing? Was that ever a thing for you guys? Jim's an old Marine, and he's like, let's go take pictures in our underwear.
He asked me the other day, he's like, did you bring a pair of shorts or boxers? And I'm looking at him, I didn't answer at first because I was trying to figure out where the fuck he was going with that question. And I just simply said, yes. Because we're taking a picture in just our underwear over by the skydive sign that they carved for us out of the ice. And I just looked at him and said, why? And then today I saw him walking over there in his boxers by himself. That was the number of people that he was able to recruit for the picture. Like, I hope I'm that spry at 72. I hope I make 72 to begin with, but I hope I'm that spry and doing what the hell he's doing at 72.
Yeah.
Hey, there have been a number of people that I've met on this trip that give me hope for ascending into old age. Like Mike McDowell, we talked about, the most interesting man in the world. Jim, I'm like, man, if I'm out with a bunch of fucking young bucks, like, or medium-aged bucks, skydiving in Antarctica when I'm fucking 73, I'm gonna be doing fucking K. You know,
Agreed.
It really like gives you hope that you can just keep crushing it.
Yeah, that another thing with this sport in general is every DZ that I go to, there's old timers getting after it.
Yeah, I mean, USPA has like skydivers over 70, skydivers over 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, if you do it properly, it's another one of those misconceptions. People think it's really rough on the body. If you do it properly, it's pretty low impact.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, when you do it right, it's like jumping off the curb.
Yeah, and you have choices that you can make in that. Like, when I came in on my first landing, I'm like, I'm on ice. I'm sliding this shit out because I've never had the chance to do that.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Yeah. And then you and I had our Texas square off as you were coming in. I'm looking at him, I crouch down, I'm like, I'm going to go left or right. But it's awesome. I'm going to get out of the way, and it's like he has the right of way, he gets to choose, and I'll go the other way. But no, it's awesome. We can wrap it up because I'm trying to do like shorter, quick episodes up here. But closing thoughts by Jariko and Logan on anything. Go deep, go broad, go shallow, go narrow. Go ahead.
I guess my closing thought will be my theme throughout this is
taking pictures of your lunch.
Yeah, just the camera eats first, and then second.
Well, first, I get credit for reminding you multiple times. Take your picture.
You do.
He's sitting there getting ready, like, take your picture, reminding him.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, there's like through lines that I like to get. Casey Neistat is inspirational in that he does these really rad and you get poked fun at for doing those types of things until the end when people are like, man, I fucking wish I had.
Yeah, I wish I would have. Yeah.
But through line is our just closing thoughts is, I won't be deep. I'll just say I hope that everybody who's listening, watching, whatever, can watch what we're doing and just be stoked for it and find something that they can be stoked for and help their friends find things that they get stoked for.
Yeah. I'm pretty sad and disappointed in myself. I did not bring nearly enough coffee here.
Which is shocking to me.
Well, I stuffed as much as I could in the baggage that we were allowed to bring. And then, like, I knew there's tons of coffee already in there, but I set the bags out, and they were gone in, like, 24 hours.
Yeah, but now that we realize that ALE has a corporate office probably 3 miles from BRCC in Salt Lake, that's a solvable problem.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, for us here right now, and then Jericho's like, let's give a bag of coffee to the team going to the South Pole, get a photo, and I was like, no, like, I want to drink that coffee.
Fuck that content.
We gave it to him anyway, but now there's barely any coffee left, and we got
3 days.
We got 3 days left. So plan accordingly. I brought extra layers. I should have left the layers and brought more coffee. And if anybody that shouldn't make that mistake, it's me.
People that work for a coffee company should probably bring the requisite amount.
Yeah.
I think I'll close it. I'm just stoked that you guys are here. It's like I said, I've been jumping for a long time now. I still love it. I still get a ton out of it. But being able to go on a trip like this and share it with people who are earlier in the journey is fucking awesome. And your guys' jumping ability has grown substantially since that first, because we haven't jumped together that much, that first training camp. Yeah, you guys are on a really good trajectory. One I wish I would have been on at that point. But I mean, I was just jumping at a DZ, getting in trouble far too often, doing very dumb things, confusing my enthusiasm for my capabilities. You know, all the dangerous things.
Yep.
That's it. Done.
Guilty.